Welcome back to another episode of Consciously Clueless. I'm your host, Carly, and I'll be your guide on this journey from consciousness to cluelessness and back around again. Today, I talk to Alexis Collum. Alexis grew up with a love for animals and dreamed of becoming a veterinarian to help them. At the time, she didn't realize what saving animals could really mean in everyone's daily lives. After watching the documentary Earthlings, her life completely changed in so many ways. It led to a vegan lifestyle, switching from a biology to art major in 3 years, and becoming the president of Knights for Animal Rights, a student organization for animal rights advocacy. Now in her graduating semester at UCF, she considers herself an artivist, an activist, and an artist. Something she'll explain more about. Here we go. Well, thank you for joining me this morning. I'm really excited that we connected.
Yes, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So the first question I like to ask people, because the podcast is called Consciously Clueless, and that came from this idea of realizing like we're all kind of trying to figure it out and become a little more conscious, a little less clueless, but sometimes you just are all over the map. So where are you feeling right now on the spectrum from conscious to clueless or clueless to conscious? Like, where are you at this morning?
Yeah, absolutely. Because once you learn about something, it sends you into a whole new wormhole of all these other things. And it's just a constant process of learning. So I think that, to a certain degree, I'm conscious of different things that others may not be aware of with, my advocacy. I'm trying to raise awareness about things and share it with other people that may not be aware of it. But by no means like an all-knowing consciousness, because I know that there's so much to always learn and, it's a lifelong journey of learning. So I think that consciousness is like, like I said, a lifelong journey, not a destination. I'm here, I'm conscious. So, and that helps keep me, humble and open to the new ideas. So I think I'm conscious of the need to be open-minded, because then there's always more to learn.
Yeah, I really love that, that you said humble, like humbled to the fact that I'm probably going to be wrong.
Or there's going to be someone that knows more than me and they're going to, help alter me into this way.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I love that. So I first saw about your work as an advocate on a college campus in Veg Fund, and I saw your story and thought she's amazing and I want to talk to her. So can you tell me a little bit about that and maybe like your work with Veg Fund or what you're kind of doing there?
Absolutely. So I'm the president of an animal rights organization at the University of Central Florida, and it's called Knights for Animal Rights. And so basically what we do, the club has been in effect since I think 2012 or 2014. Okay. So it's pretty cool that there's been a lot of activists before me and students that were already, conscious of these things, trying to raise awareness. And that club is really what brought me to UCF and helped me choose it.
Oh, wow.
At a lot of colleges, and I became vegan during the time that I was kind of looking for colleges, and so I was like, hold on, this is something I need to do once I'm over there. Like I need to get involved somehow. So so I joined when I was a freshman, right? Went to the first social and everything, and then I became I kind of created my own position a little bit. When I was a freshman, I became the creative committee director. So basically what I did was help raise funds for the organization and, so we could do more activism and stuff. So I made different things like, little bottle caps or small paintings or for our large event that we had do you know what Veg Fest is?
Yes.
Yes. So we actually had one on our campus. So we usually have one in the city.
Wow.
But it was really cool that, my freshman year, I got to work with the president at the time, Emily Sarasa, and she organized a Veg Fest at our campus. And we had like 2,000 people come. It was really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I made like a photo booth for that too, to help promote and so people can share it and things like that. So that was my role coming in. And then I was that also as a sophomore. And then now in my junior year, I'm the president. And so, kind of in charge of like running the different events and things like that too. So we use the Veg Fund money to help us with our different actions. So for example, we had a demonstration at Starbucks for their vegan milk surcharge, which is so unnecessary and makes it not welcoming for other people to try.
Yeah, it's really inaccessible.
Yeah, exactly. And it perpetuates the, animal product default that we have. Instead of being like, okay, here's all these options, it's like, okay, here's your option, or pay extra if you want this, which it's more sustainable, we know. So there's no reason to have this surcharge.
Right.
And so we use some of the veg fund money that we earned in the grant to purchase vegan milks and have a demonstration at Starbucks with these free samples that people could try, so that if they hadn't known about it before, they could try and be like, wow, this is really good. And then help us by signing the petition to call Starbucks to end it, so that way they could have it all the time without paying extra for it. So Veg Fund was super vital to, helping us give the tangibles to people, of like, here's what you can do and take home, and what you can do yourself, instead of always just the information, the information plus here's like what veganism actually is, here's the product, or, an example.
So that's incredible. How did it go? What was the outcome?
It was amazing, actually. The manager, when we went, I went and introduced myself, just being like, hey, we're going to have this demonstration. And she was like, awesome. I love that. I love that you guys are protesting. And you don't usually get that from places that you're having a demonstration.
No.
But, she just was so happy that, us, especially as college students, were out there, raising awareness about things that we are passionate about. And so she allowed us to actually sit inside. So it's really hot here in Florida. So that was really nice, and it helped keep our milks cold. But yeah, everyone that came was, interested in what we were doing. A lot of them tried samples, unless they were, busy rushing in and out. And then most people actually said that they had already tried, plant-based milks before. Maybe they liked it, or they already are using it at their home already. So it was really cool that people are already, open to this and practicing it themselves at home. It's not like a new thing that we were really showing, which was great outcome. Right. And then a lot of them did sign the petition, which we're also partnered with Students Opposing Speciesism, which is a really cool organization that, students can get involved with to join the movement. And it was part of like their campaign, to have Starbucks end the surcharge.
Is that a national Students Opposing Speciesism?
Yeah, it's kind of a hard word. But yeah, so it is a national PETA-backed youth-led movement to end speciesism, which for, any of the listeners that don't know, speciesism is, the human-held belief that, all other animals are inferior, kind of like how we have racism or sexism. It's that ism and like othering of a certain group just because they're different. So just as an animal has 4 legs, or dogs are fluffy and pigs aren't, we eat pigs, but dogs are our friends, trying to tackle that ethical, stance of to show like all animals are equal, and they need to be, their interests need to be respected, just like how women's interests need to be respected just as much as men. That was the women movement. So, it's really cool because it's national. So there's hubs everywhere, and, no matter where you are in the country, you can either join one or start your own. If there's no one in your area, they have awesome advisors that, will help give the protest materials, which that's where we got our posters, some of our protest posters from, the leaflets to give people information, stickers, the other, cool tangible things that, help remind people and get it in the community.
Yeah, totally. So what other types of activism have you done, or projects have you done through this organization on campus?
So with Knights for Animal Rights, we also do a lot of tabling on campus, which has been really fun because it's a chance for us to talk to students on campus. If they have a moment in between classes, we'd have, different signs, like change my mind signs, which are often really helpful because it just helps get people thinking. And they may want to come up and talk to you about it, be like, why, either try to change our mind, or just be like, why are you guys doing this? Or it just plants the seed in their head to think about, throughout the rest of the day. And, it just helps get them thinking. And throughout the semesters before COVID is when we'd have these. Obviously, we haven't been able to for a couple months, but we would have people come back every week and just kind of talking to us, and they'd be like, I started going vegetarian. A couple weeks later, they'd be like, okay, I'm going to try to go vegan and stuff. So it was really rewarding to have that consistent student feedback and know that, we have a presence on campus that students can come to for information and help and resources and things like that. And also support, because we, you develop a friend group, because maybe you're the first person to go vegan, and then you're like in this world by yourself. Now you meet this whole other group that you can find comfort and talk about things with, whatever. So it's been a really awesome club.
Yeah,
for students.
That's really nice to have that feel of community, especially on a college campus in any sort of group that you're with. So I really love that you said that kind of like sense of belonging maybe for people, because sometimes when you first go vegan, you feel like you're like crazy out on a limb here, which brings me to, how did you go vegan? How did you, while searching for colleges, were you like, I think I'm vegan?
Yeah, it was, I have to thank my 10th grade ENC 1102 professor, Tiffany Frost, for introducing me. And she was vegan herself.
What's ENC? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. It's a writing class.
Oh, okay. I just was like, am I supposed to know that?
No, my bad. It's just that's how it is in my head.
No, that's great.
So yeah, it's just basically the second writing class for like, your gen ed courses in the beginning of college and stuff. And so basically she was my teacher and she was vegan. And so all of the literature and essays were about these ethics topics. And so I did want to rewind a little bit. I always wanted to help animals. Growing up, I always considered myself an animal lover. And I have like a couple of funny stories of like, there was one time when I was under 10 that there was like this little baby mouse that was blind, like just born on like a boat dock, and there was a boat coming in. And so I was like, everyone stop. And I went and just like scooped it up and I was like, can we keep it? And they were like, no, we have a cat at home. And I was like, okay. So because it's a little baby. So I don't know that. And then for my college entrance exam, I wrote about in preschool, we have these love bugs in South Florida. I don't know if you know what those are. So there'd be like swarms of them. And so all the kids would like squash them, jump on them, because they would make us not have recess sometimes because there'd be so many.
They'd be so thick.
Like a swarm.
Yeah.
And so I would get in trouble and put in timeout because I would fight with kids of like, don't kill them. Like just because they're bugs doesn't mean you get to smush them. Like what gives you
you'd get put in timeout for that?
Yes. Well, I mean, if they didn't listen, I would go to other measures as a kid. I didn't really.
I relate. I hear you. I would go to other measures. I'm imagining you like pushing them in the sandbox or something.
Like you're smushing them. I can at least,
tussle you around a little bit.
Exactly. So that's what I wrote my college essay about too, was that story. So I've always grown up wanting to help animals and save animals. And I wanted to be a vet because I thought the best way to do it. I feel like a lot of animal rights activists may start out that way because you think that's the way that you can save animals. But once my teacher introduced me to animal rights and we had all our essays about it, and on the final day, she showed us the documentary Earthlings in class. And
I haven't even watched that whole thing. I can't do it. Like it's
a lot. And it's a lot to the point too that it's everything. You know what I mean? Like the other documentaries, they focus on things, environmentalism, ethics, health for yourself.
There's like one track.
This one is all of the ways that we exploit animals. And for me, that was really powerful because it spelled it out for me. I was like, these are all the things I can't do anymore because like, I just didn't feel like in myself, if I'm going to dedicate my life to saving animals, how can I eat them every day and have them on my plate,
Yeah.
So I left class crying and like kind of like depressed for like a couple days because I was just, absorbing all of that. And I told my mom, I was like, I'm vegan. That's like, I need tofu. I don't know how
I need tofu. Get me tofu, stat.
I knew that was one staple, and I was like, okay, we're going with that, because, so I kind of figured it out as I went. Because after that day, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. So that's how I went vegan. And like I said, that was 10th grade. And so you start looking for colleges a little bit after that. And UCF was the one that, I saw how active their club already was. And I was like, this is something I'd love to be a part of. And yeah, that's kind of helped guide me on my journey. Once I went vegan, I feel like it opened me up to a lot of things. And, it really was a catalyst in my life for, driving me towards, this other path instead of going down the vet field. Now I'm actually an art major.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, I started out as a bio and I transitioned to an art major with a business bio. So it really kind of changed my life a little bit.
Well, it sounds like it. When you sent me your schedule to try and figure out, I was like, she's an art major. It sounded pretty fun. I think that I want to highlight one thing too, or a lot of things about that story, but I think it's so amazing the power that a teacher can have on their students. And I mean, 10th grade, this teacher sounds pretty radical in the grand scheme of things, or by standards, right? To be showing, I just can't even imagine my high school English teacher showing Earthlings. That is wildly impossible for me to even wrap my head around. So I think it's so amazing that she was like, seeds, planting seeds, these young people.
And then boom, last day of class. Hey guys, have a great summer.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck. I hope that she knows the impact that you've had and that she had on you.
I know. I did want to reach out and find her email and just be like, thank you, because whole life is different because of you, and in an amazing way, because I feel like I'm more compassionate and, like I said in the beginning, open, and just, I don't know it all, and
right,
so much that you don't know about what you've been doing your whole life, that then it makes you realize that not everything you've been doing growing up is the right way necessarily. There may be better ways, and you got to just be open to seeing it and then deciding.
Yeah, and I think that I've talked to quite a few people about this, but there's that stereotype about being an angry vegan. And I 1,000% hit that in the beginning, because I was like, everything I've known is a lie. Literally everything is a lie. And it was very why is nobody listening to me? I think I have the answers now, and nobody wants to join me, and I'm pissed.
100%. I said a couple days of the depression, and then it definitely turned into the anger. Because once I started showing my friends and my family, I was like, guys, look what I just found out about. Look at this. And they'd be there with their Chick-fil-A sandwich, be like, oh, okay. And then go back to talking about something that was just, to me at that point, not as relevant as do you see what is happening? So I can relate to that. And I think it definitely, you need that community, because then you show, you find that you're not the only one. And, you
yes,
kind of a little bit.
Yeah. And definitely in remembering what approaches work, right? So I always share, I grew up in northern Minnesota and grew up hunting and fishing. That was just a part of life. My best friend growing up here was vegan starting in late elementary school or middle school, and we're still best friends. And she was just so patient with me, and I didn't stop hunting and fishing until college or even later. So I just thought about how interesting that must have been for her, and how much patience she had. And I'm like, okay, if she can do that for me, I have to extend that to others.
Absolutely. And I really love that story, because it also shows that, not everyone is going to maybe have that immediate response, and that's okay. People do absorb it in their own time, and you pushing is going to push that angry vegan, stereotype that we have, when really, it is the movement is about compassion. It's about compassion for all beings. And so we can't then exclude just part of our species, just because too. So you really just have to invite them in, show the options, talk about it in a way that, they can help end suffering, and in a positive way. And don't get discouraged if they don't transition right away, because, you know, everyone takes their time. And, you know, if she hadn't been patient with you, if she was angry with you, who knows, you know, what would have happened? You would have been like, oh, why would I ever, you know, want to become something like that? So you have to maintain that positivity and just try to plant the seed. It's all about just planting the seed and then watering as you go.
Absolutely. And like knowing that wherever we're at on this journey of learning about things, we're unraveling so many years of socialization. Yes. And for so many people, like that's not going to just happen tomorrow. It takes some work.
Absolutely. And I, you know, definitely the longer that you've been doing it, the harder it may seem to be like, why should I do this now? You know, so I feel like definitely our generation coming up is, you know, that they already have these ideas being planted to them. Like me, when I was in 10th grade, I'm still very impressionable. I absorbed that. And, you know, maybe if people are seeing it later on, they think they've lived their whole life this way, nothing's wrong. But, you know, I always just try to remind, like, you know, my family when I'm talking to them and stuff, like, this is an urgent thing. And there's so much involved in it. You know, it's because the argument that, you know, I often get is, you know, there's so many other things going on. There's so many human issues that we need to worry about. And I just want to also clarify that the speciesism movement isn't separating or saying that those aren't important. It's just saying like, hey, animals they should be here too. They're equally important. We need to care about them as well. And by doing that, I always think if you can extend your compassion to something that looks nothing like you, like a frog or, you know, a cow or something, it would be so much easier to do it to all the people that we know. To how easy would that, you know, solve things too, of, okay, if we're all equal, then of course these people are too. And I feel like that would solve a lot of issues too, of how we view others just in general. So
I think I mean, there's no movement that is perfect, right? Of course. And there are some vegan activists that I think have been really, really damaging to the movement. And I am a millennial. What generation are you?
I was born in 2000, so I think I'm on Gen X.
I think so. I feel old. I'm a millennial, which is now old.
I'm a millennial. So I'm not a millennial. I know that.
Well, I know that at least even being a millennial, I'm looked at as like any space I'm in, any board, anywhere is like, you're the social media person. You're going to be the one that's doing things on social media, which I'm sure you also get. And I think it's such a powerful tool, but it can also be a really scary place and a really damaging for the movement place. I've had to leave some Facebook groups and some different places because I'm just like, I don't want to shit on other people and lose the compassion piece. Have you experienced any of that, like social media stuff with your activism or anything like that? Problems?
Definitely with running our club's Instagram page. We post about some controversial things sometimes, and especially what I've realized in Orlando is we're a high tourist, entertainment industry based, so things like SeaWorld and Gatorland are things that people here have grown up with, and it's part of their childhood, so they have a lot of positive memories. So when we're out there saying, hey, this is not okay, we do get some negative feedback sometimes. And especially those are the posts that people tend to kind of blow up in the comments of, why, kind of defending the organization. And so no matter how angry or nasty, sometimes they're really just sincere comments of like, people saying, oh, I've worked here, this is not how it is, or anything like that. You have to hit all of them with that same level of compassion and maintain that even composure, because social media lasts forever too. And once you something, it's not really going to go away. And, so I think it's important, at least with that, you have some time to think about your response. Is not as immediate as in-person stuff. Those kind of get me a little anxious sometimes. because you never know what people are going to say, and you have to just be ready to respond. But yeah, definitely social media, you don't want to get sucked in that loop of, bantering back and forth or arguing. You want to stay very informative, educational, but compassionate. Be like, hey, like, do you know about this? In terms of like, let me share this with you in case you didn't know, or
Right.
something like that. Like, you're wrong, you don't know anything, or try to just guide them, like,
Yeah.
here.
Here, let me just like put bumpers up and you can bounce down the path until you get there.
Exactly.
So if you are an art major with you said business minor?
Yes.
Okay, art major, business minor, you went to UCF for this club specifically. So do you have an idea, like, are all those things going to be a part of your future? Or if you don't know, by the way, it's okay, because when you're in college and people want to know what you're doing with the rest of your life, it's very overwhelming. But I'm just curious if right now, at least, you have a kind of a vision.
Absolutely. So yeah, definitely, I would think my first couple years of college, I was really kind of bouncing back and forth, not really sure what I wanted, because I was struggling with, do I really want to be a vet? Is that the best way that I can save animals? Like, also, once I got deeper into the bio degree, I was kind of like, this is not for me. Like, I can do it. If I put my mind to it, I can open the textbook and read it and study, and I know the steps, but it wasn't igniting me.
Yeah, you're like, this isn't me.
Yeah, I don't see myself doing this. And also, I was always an art minor, because it was always something I was passionate about. From my great aunt Betty, she instilled that in me and kind of was a catalyst that way too. She was a watercolor artist, and so when she passed away, I got her first palette and brushes, and
oh wow,
it was really cool. And so ever since then, I've been in love with art. Always wanted to be an art minor, and I saw that my art classes I was excited for, I was ready for, and I never had the time to do it, because I was always studying and reading a textbook. And it got to the point in Orgo 2 that I would open it and just start crying.
oh
Like,
no, it was like you were like, this is not right.
Yeah, I kept trying to push it because I didn't want the classes to conquer me. I had that, I wanted to conquer it and say I could do both and things, but I realized that, that's not my path. And I saw that, being an activist, what I was doing in the club was already saving so many animals that I don't need to kill myself with these classes, and then set myself up to, have to just be in school and learn all these things. I could start saving right now, you know what I mean? And also too, with art, I saw that, art has the ability to speak to so many people. You don't even need words to get things across. And sometimes, in the vegan activism, some people have heard the words before. They've already heard all the arguments, and they have their walls up of what they're going to say back already.
Absolutely.
So hitting them with a visual, they have to absorb it, like, they could talk to the painting if they want to, but it's a one-on-one with themselves and the painting of what they think about it and what that brings up in them. And so
I love that. I just had like a full body reaction to that. Ooh.
I love goosebumps. They're like,
ooh.
Something hit.
Something hit.
And so, that's really where I saw I could be myself, is saving animals through my art. And I saw too, I was already doing it with the creative committee. I started before I even knew what I wanted to do. I was like,
the universe was like, let me put you on this path.
Yes. And I'm so grateful, because I saw I was already raising money, already using my art for things. So why can't I just continue doing that? And so these are these are some of my pieces.
I was admiring them as we got started.
Thank you. So like, this one was a real catalyst for me, because it was the first painting that I ever sold, and it really solidified that I could send a message, and people feel that, and then they can appreciate it. And so this one was about save the bees. Like, our pollinators supply, like, I think 80% of our food crop, or all plants in general. Without them, those plants would not be there. So we need to protect them and not, destroy their habitats or use pesticides and fertilizers and all these things. So, and it's a bee on the world, kind of showing like she's helping save the world, and just trying to bring awareness to it. The dark drips are like, these are they have like kind of an imminent danger coming up.
Yeah, I love that you're describing it for people who aren't watching, and for those who are just listening, it's like this beautiful, do you want to describe it, the one that you're talking about?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think I have one right now. So it's a bee on top of a globe, and there's flowers and different things on it. And then my favorites are sunflowers. They're just so bright and happy and always reaching towards the sun. So that kind of has always been like a message for me. And the bee is kind of over this whole planet because it represents all pollinators. We have a lot, it's not just bees. But I'm actually working on a project right now, kind of a spin-off of it. And it includes 3 butterflies that have gone extinct in South Florida. And so for me, being from South Florida, that's my home. These are tangible things for me too. It's hitting home. It's not just elsewhere out there. So I really wanted to raise awareness about, our pollinators. They're just little bugs, but they're more than that. If you see a bee, don't swat at it. Just be like, okay, like I love you, just do your thing. That's always what I do. I'm just like, I'm not here to hurt you. You don't need to do anything to me.
If you squish a bug, Alexis will push you down in the sandbox, man.
I'm gonna find you. But like, every life is precious is kind of the moral of that one. And I have other ones too, like this yin and yang kind of balancing. We need to find balance in our world, and a big part of that is our oceans and our trees. Just I like to play with those concepts and try to put in a visual way the things that I want to share with people, basically. And so the other power that this has is I can present topics in galleries where these conversations would normally be held. I did want to show you this one, but it's kind of big.
I'm very excited.
Let's see if I can do this. You can also go on my website, and all these pictures are up there as well.
And we'll put that in the show notes so everyone can look. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's kind of big. But basically, let's see it. This was the first painting that I did about, I call it Artivism. I didn't mention that. But I
love that.
An artivist. So art and activism together, and it helps your message, but in a different way, So this one was talking about, how we use cows. They have a price tag on them, but they're a living thing. And so I wanted people to really look into the cow's eyes and see what they're putting a price tag on, what comes before the burger or, whatever steak you're about to eat. And also I was playing with the idea of, even grass-fed, like what does humane mean? There's still red behind the green. They still have to die at the end of this process for you to have the product. So it's just not right in general. And that's why there's no way to justify with these labels or certifications. We're doing it humanely. Humane is benevolence, it's kindness. And there's no kind way to kill something that doesn't want to die. Someone that doesn't want to die, I'm sorry. So that was my first piece. And I made it in a painting class in high school. And I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do now. Because it just it was right after I had gone vegan. So I was kind of like setting myself up to kind of be on this path of becoming an artivist.
I love that term. And I also love the idea. I never thought of it like that because I write and I do like content creation, but any sort of painting, drawing, sketching is just not my wheelhouse. It does not come out, like it doesn't make sense to me. So I always love looking at people's art because I'm like, that my hands won't do that. I don't understand how you do that. So I'm not very familiar with that world. And I've never thought about it in that way that, if you have a gallery show at some gallery in Florida that maybe their last show was pictures of flowers or I don't know what, what I mean? Whatever, or some abstract thing. Like this is like an intentional showcase that like you said, you're having people have these one-on-one reactions with this really specific thing, which I guess is just, I probably just described artivism to what that is, but I'm just really fascinated. That's a really amazing concept.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not my own. I found it. It started, I believe, in the 1970s is like when the term was
Makes
first
sense.
I'm not with it, but I am proud to consider myself in that class, because then, I always, even growing up, wanted my art to have a message, or like, what's the purpose of the art? And all artists find their own purpose for it.
Absolutely.
They don't all have to be super deep and a paragraph long explanation of what's in it. And I did want to mention that everyone is an artist. So that is another motto that I say. So your art doesn't have to be that art, because it's your art. So
yes,
whatever
absolutely.
comes out of your hand is your art. And
I write. I call myself an artist now as a writer, but that took me a long time. I was like, that's not art.
Cooking is an art. I think art is intention. It's like the love and thought and effort that you put in. And also, like, I think once you get into that, like that rhythm, you tap into something, that's your art, whatever it is. So everyone's an artist.
That's really, really, really beautiful. So remind me where UCF is, because I have family all over Florida. So I visit Florida at least once a year, and I want to see Veg Fest. I haven't gone to a Veg Fest in Florida, and I know they're all over. So there's a few on my list. Where are you at?
So we are in Orlando. So it's kind of
like,
in
Orlando. Okay.
Yeah, Disney. It's like the center.
You're in the thick of it.
Yeah, so we're in Orlando, and it's actually really cool that you mentioned that, because I am the vendor coordinator for the Veg Fest coming up in Central Florida. And so it's going to be October 23rd from 10 to 6. So if you're in town, you could stop by. I'll have some of my art.
23rd.
And meet up.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've decided recently that I'm just going to start like going places where I can go to Veg Fests. Like if I'm going somewhere, I'm going to be like, well, is it a long weekend, like fun somewhere, like I could plan it with a Veg Fest in, I don't know, wherever. So I want to make it to some in Florida. I want to like make it so my trips match when I'm visiting family.
Because it's so cool that they're everywhere. There's even one in South Florida too, I think in Del Rey. It happened earlier this year though.
Okay.
So if you're looking for next year, but yeah, that's also my goal too. So maybe we'll see each other at multiple Veg Fests, because I want to go and vendor with my art and kind of be that art spokesperson for the animals as well at the Veg Fests. And
I would love to go from Veg Fest to Veg Fest and like interview people for the podcast and that kind of thing. I think it would be so fun.
Yes, that would be awesome, because then you just meet people and everywhere. That's the other really cool thing about the Veg Fest, is it's just connecting with people, and it's such a wholesome, like awesome experience.
Yeah, that sounds really lovely. So you are a powerhouse of a college student doing activism and making a difference in the world. That is clear. How do you take care of yourself?
That is a harder question for me to answer. But I will say that I live by my planner, because it helps me just bring my mind where, like, what do I actually do? I like check in with it after the day. I'm like, okay, what happened today? All these different things. Let me write it down. What needs to happen for the next day? And yeah.
I mean, that's a huge form of self-care and making sure that you kind of have your head on straight a little bit when you're keeping track of school and activism and everything else. Taking care of yourself can include making sure you know what's going on in your day.
Absolutely. I actually just got this whiteboard, and I put like little tabs for like all the areas of my life. So that way I could be like, okay, self-love things, job things, my business things, work things. And it helps me really like separate it out. And then that way I can make sure I'm touching all of them. I can make sure I'm crossing things off that self-love, because if I'm not, I'm neglecting that area of my life. So I'm a very visual person as an artist. So it helps me. And it's always like a constant reminder of like, what I can do. And I always try to be productive. So I do think that's something I can work on, is it can be productive to do nothing. And that's good for you too.
Yeah, girl, I'm learning that too. And I've gotten better and better at it, but it is hard to lay down and think, this is doing something good for me, even though I'm not writing, I'm not recording, I'm not content. Editing. Like, it can be difficult, but I've gotten better and better at it. I highly recommend doing nothing.
I know. It's nice in the moment, and then it also helps you actually be present and clear for when you're actually doing the things that you need to. Because like I'll find that I try to squeeze everything into all these seconds and minutes in between things, and you know, if you're just constantly going, you never stop. It's just, you kind of spiral. But like I'll go to bed and things are still running through my head and I'm like, okay, just sleep time. No
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been trying to, in those moments where you have a few seconds or whatever, I've been trying to not pick up my phone because
Yes.
you're standing in line, you're
Mhm.
waiting at a stop sign, I don't know, whatever it is, these moments where we automatically are like, oh, I have a minute. What's on my
Mhm.
phone? And so I've been trying. It's hard. I didn't realize how route the habit was for me to fill
Mhm.
like minutes with my phone and
Yep.
email and everything else. So
Email.
I've been trying to just like look around more in those moments, which sounds so silly, but is
Mhm.
actually been like a practice.
No, like enjoying the moment, like being present in where you are and like what is happening around you. What color is the sky? Are there clouds? Like because for me, like I'm also really bad with directions because I'm kind of in my head
Me
a lot.
too.
So I need to know
Terrible.
my surroundings, like what's the building, what's the street, like these are things that you need to pay attention to and just to be aware of where you are and not, lost in all these other things. So
Yeah,
I've
absolutely. I had an advisor in undergrad when I was touring grad schools. I remember he told me, and I think about this all the time now. I remember he told me, just remember to like look up. And I was like, what? And he was like, when you're touring this place, like, don't be looking at your info sheet. Don't be looking at your phone. He's like, I want you to tell me what the like tops of the buildings looked like when you come
Mhm.
back from this tour. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so
Mhm.
interesting. I think about it all the
Because we never
time.
look at that. Yeah. It's like we're so tunnel vision on things sometimes that, even just, I think that, like you said, is like another form of self-love is just
Mm,
looking up and taking information other than the blue screen, you know,
yes. Yes,
and like that will help.
absolutely.
You'll notice things. So,
Absolutely. I cannot agree more. So, is there anything like pressing or anything that you feel like you really want to share that you didn't get space to or that I didn't ask about?
um,
It's okay if you don't. That's not like a trick question. I just want to make sure I allow people
oh,
to
yeah,
have space for stuff.
absolutely. And I should have probably already thought about that, but we talked about a lot and um I always just kind of go back to, like everyone just kind of remaining compassionate and positive because everyone takes their time. So wherever you are in your journey and wherever, your peers are, just like we were just talking about, just keep your head up, look up,
Mm-hmm.
appreciate what you're doing, because you know that you yourself are not contributing or, you're making a choice for yourself, regardless of what everyone else is doing. So, um, I always just like to end with just keep planting the seed, just sprinkle the seeds out to anyone who will listen, but don't take it to heart necessarily what they say back because they're battling their own things. They're absorbing what you just said. And just like how when we found out, we went through, a dark time and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's even once we accepted it. So
Yeah.
if people are not absorbing it, you can't be upset about what they say back because at least you got them thinking about it. And maybe in 10 years they'll come back to you and they'll be like, took me a while, but I did it. And that's
Yeah.
going to be so rewarding. So
Yeah. It's the long
just
game, the
keep your
long game.
head. Mhm. And also find the way that's best for you too. Like I have art, you have writing. Maybe I also do street activism on the streets and stuff, but you can find your way of how to speak up for animals. Some people are chefs and they show by what they cook and stuff. So there's so many ways that, you can help make the world a better place. There's not just one set path, so stay positive, compassionate, plant seeds and find your way.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Well, before we do our Patreon only questions and rapid fire round, where can people get a hold of you or contact you or stay up to date on what you're doing?
Absolutely. So my Instagram and website are the same, so it's easy. It's Alexis Kayla Creations.
Okay.
So my first name, middle name, and then creations at the end.
Awesome. And again, I'll put all this in the show notes just so you know, but keep going.
Perfect. Yeah. And so that's where to find me. And then if you wanted to stay up to date with the club or what actions we're taking, because I'm actually graduating this semester. So
whoa.
Yes. This is it. So I actually forgot to mention when you said like I'm confident of where I'm going, like I'm hoping that I can solidify my art business and be working in galleries and set myself up in the art world. So that way when I graduate, I can still plant my seeds there and stuff like that as well.
That's amazing. I have no doubt that you'll do that.
Thank you. So since I'm graduating, there's a whole new team coming up of officers. So if you wanted to stay up to date, our Instagram is Knights 4 animal rights.
Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, those are our contact places if you wanted to reach out.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing all that. And I hope that there are some college students inspired too, especially I think that colleges can be such amazing places to create change and promote those things. So I hope that there's some college students listening that are going to start their own club.
Yes. And if you need help doing that, the Students Opposing Speciesism Instagram is at PETAxSOS.
Okay.
So if you wanted to get more information about the campaigns that they do or get involved or start your own campaign, hub or join one, you can find all that information there as well.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Consciously Clueless. If you enjoyed that episode, hit subscribe wherever you're listening. If you're on Apple Podcasts, go ahead, leave a review and help others find this podcast. If you really want to help me get this into the ears of more listeners, send it to a friend, text it to a family member, share on social media. Whatever you can do really helps me out. If you haven't yet, head over to patreon.com/consciouslycarly. There's yoga videos, meditation, vegan tips, nutrition info, recipes, behind the scenes podcast information. There is so much over there. I would love to have you as a part of the community. Until next time.